Myron, thank you so much for joining us today and coming in and talking to us about your new role here as CEO of the Edmonton International Airport. And congratulations on the position.
Oh, thank you very much, Chris. Really appreciate being here, and thank you for the impact that Alberta Impact has.
Thank you, absolutely. Well, and we wouldn't be here today to tell these stories if it wasn't for organizations like you guys and the great work that you guys are putting into this. So, I think I just want to start off we've kind of turned the page. We're in a new chapter of an already successful book of the Edmonton International Airport with you, at the reins now. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you come from and how you kind of came to be in this position now.
Yeah, sure. I really appreciate that. I'm born in Edmonton and left, called me the prodigal son who left and returned, and could never think of a better place to raise a family. Yeah. All my 3 children here, 2 in post-secondary, a 3rd one going into post-secondary this fall. And the opportunity within Alberta, and particularly in the Edmonton region, is one that you can't find anywhere else, I think, anyway. And the quality of life, the pioneering spirit, the camaraderie, the cooperate, but when you compete with your competitors and they help you, is something that is very live and real here. So my background, grew up in Edmonton, went into work in the aviation industry in another province and abroad, and came back with the opportunity to be involved in Edmonton, and just proud to be part of such a great team that makes the airport run every day.
Awesome. You have a ton of really awesome experience. You were talking about stuff that you were doing in Prague and whatnot that just makes you like the perfect suitable candidate for the position that you're in now. Tell me a little bit about some of the stuff that you were doing before this when it came to attracting investments and researching markets and figuring out where opportunities are. Tell me a little bit about that and then and how that translates into what you're doing now.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I've been very blessed in my career. Mm-hmm. You really build on those that came before you and those that mentor you. And I've been very blessed with Tom, our former CEO, Reg prior to that, and our board of directors, and of course all my executive colleagues and team members. You learn from everybody every day.
Yeah.
I had an opportunity in my past position in another province to work abroad and work in airports abroad and look at the commercial opportunity of airports in the Dominican Republic, for example, or in Chile. Just a couple examples, and it's something within Canada as well. But what you really learn is the difference in cultures, the difference in approaches, but the fundamental economics of airports are very similar. And how can the airport be used to be an accelerator of growth? Yeah. We can either be a governor or accelerator of growth. A lot of airports will continue to operate the way they do, which is great, and they fulfill a need in the community. We believe our responsibility is really, after safety and security, driving prosperity in an economic, social, and financially sustainable way. Mm-hmm. So it's really, how can we help that? So for our approach at the airport, it's really one about helping the community grow and planting trees for tomorrow.
Right on. That's awesome. Now, awesome that you're a homeboy. Your red grassroots are here. You know the culture already. You were part of implementing and building that culture over the last few years, for quite a few years now. You've mentioned the mentors with Tom Ruth. So. Tell me a little bit about some of the other things that you guys have done. 1.5 billion. I want to really hit that number because that's a massive and an incredible number. $1.5 billion that you were instrumental in helping with your team to bring here to the airport and the province. Tell me a little bit about that and how that was achieved.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think we spoke earlier about no one does anything alone, right?
Yeah.
So it's a team that pulls everything off, and we're blessed to have a lot of people in great positions here, not just within the airport, but within the community, within Edmonton Global, Explore Edmonton, Chamber, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And so what we were looking at from an airport perspective is how do we, with the board's guidance and the strategy, how do we use the airport to amplify what's going on in the community? And sought to develop what we call the Airport City Sustainability Campus. And that saw, like you said, about $1.5 billion of private investment. And the goal was to create an ecosystem that if we're not going to be a natural hub for some airlines, we are, but we're not for everyone. Yeah. How do we create a space where people can come to? You choose to connect through Edmonton and spend 4 or 5 or 6 hours if connection time is not right, be able to take advantage of some amenities, create the tourism opportunities, but then generate some of that revenue to go back into supporting airlines to keep fees low, to make sure that we can be economically viable. And that has really opened up so many different avenues for us. If we had not done that, we wouldn't have the incubators to help small and medium businesses or startup companies. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things you can see at the airport. It's like I'm peeling out an onion in a good way, but it doesn't make you cry, it makes you smile.
Yeah.
And so that is really driven by culture internally, as you asked, of ingenuity, of openness, of innovation, and the sense of ownership at the airport, not just from the airport authority employees and our team, but across the entire campus, is palpable. You can actually feel it, and everyone works together.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got a great team over there. The culture at the airport is absolutely phenomenal, and it's infectious. So, I mean, you just said it too, attracting more people here. They want to come here. They want to make this a terminal that they have to pass through because it's enjoyable. And then everything else, like you've said this off camera, working with Edmonton Global, Edmonton Unlimited, and these other organizations that support you. And I want you to say it because it was such a great term, but you said Edmonton is the biggest little city. Is that what you said?
Biggest little city.
Biggest little city, which is such a great analogy because it is a great big city, but it's little in the sense that everybody's a great community. Everyone works really well together. So that's awesome. So we've got a little bit about the history about you. Now, how about the future? What are some of your visions and your picture for the future of the airport?
Yeah, no, I think I really appreciate that. Just to build on what you just mentioned earlier, being a big little city is great in some ways, and it's not in any way underlying our importance as a city. But in this city, in this region, you can pick up the phone and call someone, and if they don't know, they'll know someone who knows. And so that level of camaraderie and spirit is palpable.
Yeah,
but it's also contagious.
Yeah,
and I think when you see it best when you talk to people who've just moved here, they're here 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and they're astonished with, wow, I had no idea. Right? You need to get here, experience it, be a part of it. And it's an energy that just is infectious, basically. So the future for us is I think, is really bright. I mean, we're really blessed to be in Alberta, of course, from a province perspective, and blessed to be in Edmonton, a very diverse, ethnically diverse, culturally diverse community, and one that celebrates our Indigenous heritage and roots, which I'm really, really proud of having that within our airport as well, and this community really embracing that. Because it's important to know where you come from and where was here before you to know where you're going to go.
You betcha.
Right? And so that's really important to build upon what we can learn. And so for us in the future, it's really about economic development on the cargo side particularly. We're very blessed with circumpolar routes. And what I mean by that is when you flatten out the Earth, planes that are leaving Asia and go to the East Coast of the United States fly over top of Edmonton. Planes leaving Europe or the Middle East going to the West Coast of the United States fly right over top of Edmonton. So we're in the middle of this X. We're like the nexus. And that opportunity to further expand upon Edmonton's role as a logistics and supply hub is really important, not just for Canada, but into the U.S. What's exciting for us about that is not just the inbound goods, but having that capacity reliably outbound back into Asia, back into Europe, provides the ability for small and medium enterprise to think differently, to expand globally, to grow. And we're a community made up of majority small and medium enterprises. And that's what really makes the economy in Canada tick. And Edmonton, I think, is a good example of providing access to those markets can allow companies to change how they produce, increase production, or access markets they never thought about before.
Yeah.
So it's really creating those air pipelines.
Yeah.
Utilizing it for cargo. But not just cargo. Passenger, of course, is very important as well.
Yeah. How do you communicate that message? How do you get that out to the world that, hey, like we are the place to do the most efficiency? I mean, we have efficiency on our side because of our geolocation. How do you communicate that to outside organizations, communities, markets?
Yeah, great question. We're blessed again. We talked earlier about agencies and working together with different organizations.
Yeah.
And Edmonton Global is a great partner of ours.
Awesome.
And we're spending a lot of time with our team in Malcolm and the two teams together actually traveling and literally speaking for each other in market and bringing each other opportunities and working collaboratively across the region, not just the airport.
Yeah.
But Atchison and in Strathcona County, Sturgeon County, Parkland County, it doesn't matter where it goes. If it comes to this region, we all win.
Right.
And so it's that bigger, broader look at opportunities. And so we do work collectively with them, with the federal government through trade commissioners' offices, with different airlines and companies. And really a lot of it's word of mouth too. It is contagious when you, in a good way, when you come and have a great experience working together, like, hey, you should think about this company. So that big little city we talked about earlier, exact same thing. Hey, I've got an idea. You should talk to this individual or that.
Yeah.
So it's really this symbiotic relationship across the region.
Yeah. Are there any current challenges or hurdles that you guys are looking at right now that you're trying to overcome?
Great question. I think collectively as a aviation ecosystem, the ESG area is going to be one of very, very big importance. Yeah. And not just the environmental component, because that's easier and more tangible, I think, to wrap some minds around, but the social side and the governance side. And so I think not just our region, but collectively the aviation ecosystem is really working at the very beginning stages. And they've done a lot of things in the past, but to tackle the last big chunks related to environment, social, and governance. Yeah. And airlines have done a lot. I mean, new fleets are 60, 80% more fuel efficient depending on the aircraft. Massive improvements. There's still a long way to go. And so working together, and this area is an energy super hub.
Oh,
And so you look at things like that are being done by the hydrogen hub,
yes.
the Edmonton Regional Hydrogen Hub, and the opportunities for us to participate in that from an airport perspective.
Yeah.
And bringing the future of transportation, the future of logistics, and the future of energy
Yeah.
is really important. I think so. That's an area that for us, I think we're working collectively on.
Okay.
And it's great to see the hydrogen convention last year, selling out, oversubscribed.
Yeah.
This year again, scaling up.
Yeah.
We have a huge opportunity, I think.
Right on. And what about some of the challenges that you guys have run into, like with weather? I mean, the airport's been such a major proponent for innovation, and there's all sorts of. We've got that little community in there. We've brought a lot of businesses in there, like Pegasus, and lots of entrepreneurs into there to help with innovation with aeronautics, airport, logistics when it comes to cargo and stuff like that. What are some of the other things that might be being worked on, or that you're looking forward to bringing into the Edmonton International Airport over the next few years?
Yeah, great. I just want to touch on the weather because you mentioned it. we have a great snow removal team.
Yes.
And the people that pull off, not just for the airport and the runways, which is very important, it's the most critical component, but also all our partners to make sure it operates, our de-icing partners, our ground operating partners, the airlines themselves, and everything in between. Just like it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to put every aircraft off and on.
Yes.
So there's 8, 10, 12 different organizations and agencies that are involved. We're really good at winter because it does snow here, but in Edmonton, for those that don't
We've
know.
had a little experience.
Just a little today.
Yeah.
A little today. But that community as a whole comes together, and we really are one of the best in the world at snow removal. We won 2 different times the global award for snow removal in airports.
No way.
Which when you look at that, where people think, well, Edmonton's north, and there's a lot of airports that are north and get a lot of snow and get inclement weather. So, and even the ones south get a lot of weather like Chicago and others. So
right.
Very, very blessed to have that great team. To a shout out to that team that keeps us running every day.
Awesome.
Like today, we don't have to worry about that typically. The things that we brought forward, I'm going to talk about a couple ones we brought forward. When we look at our ability to drive economic development, doesn't necessarily mean the airport's benefiting the economic development. The region is.
Right.
Cargo is a huge benefit for the region, more so than the airport. But it's important and incumbent upon us to help create access and grow small medium enterprises because they will end up being passengers and flying as well. And cargo doesn't park or go to the restaurant and eat a hamburger or a salad. Passengers do, but it's still very important for us. When I look at the businesses that have come in, whether it be companies like Indigenous Box, who scaled up from working in our house to now being a force of nature and a force of business, it's just amazing. And one that would be great for you to come out and chat with her directly, with Mallory and Cam, touching lives all over Canada and Indigenous communities with authentic Indigenous wares and goods. Think about a company like Wild and Pine that is changing how forestry reclamation is done and using technology that came to the University of Alberta with G2V optics and different lighting technologies. And they came to us through a drone company that is now Alberta-based and Area Analytics. And we have the robotic Falcon does our wildlife patrol on the airports. We've been integrating drones for the last 7 years. Again, our operations team innovating, working with regulators, federal government, Transport Canada, Nav Canada to do allow drone operations. And for the last year in the drone space, we've been operating, which is only in North America, maybe in the world, but I know for sure North America, actual active commercial drone operations delivering cargo from an airport to a business operation across the highway.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, well, what does that really matter? And what does it look like and why is it important? The future of autonomous systems is really being proven and built in Edmonton.
Right.
The pathways to do it.
Yeah.
So the future is going to be enabled through that. Yeah, it's right in the book.
Yeah.
So we're very blessed to have great relationships with our regulators, with our partners, and companies like Drone Delivery Canada, Apple Express, Zing Final Mile, and Air Canada. We're actually part of that partnership, supplying this opportunity for cargo to move back and forth.
Yeah.
That could happen anywhere in the world, but it's happening in Edmonton. It's happening in Alberta.
Yeah.
Right? So that innovation that you talked about is everywhere in Alberta. We don't always do the best job at telling our story. We just get on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We're doers, not talkers.
We're doers, yeah. And what's coming, I think, the ESG space we talked about, hydrogen. We've made a large commitment in the hydrogen space, and that's intentional.
Yeah.
We're not going to always get everything right. It's a new industry that's being developed, but it's not new globally. It's new to Alberta, or it's new to Canada. But at the last hydrogen conference, we signed over 12 partnerships in hydrogen, from everything from automotive cars to dual fuel technologies, to hydrogen off-taking agreements, to automotive vehicles and busing. So you're seeing this region really starting to come into its own in the hydrogen space. And that's really exciting because it is an industry, aviation is a hard industry to decarbonize.
Yeah.
And the hydrogen is a key element, pun intended, in sustainable aviation fuel.
Yes.
And that's going to be a key to help decarbonize the airline component.
Right. Wow. Before we close out, one other thing I wanted to really touch base on, because it's an emphasis that you guys are really putting forward, is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Tell me about some of those initiatives that you guys are looking to put forward as well.
I really appreciate that. That's a great question. Diversity, equity, inclusion is important for us, and what we're building is we call an airport for everyone. Mm-hmm. We are the community's airport. We're your airport. When you fly, we want you to have that sense of ownership, just like all of our team members do.
Right.
Like our community does, they have ownership of that asset. We don't pay dividends, so there's none of that, but it's more of an amount of pride, a community pride perspective. Yep. So everything from working with different communities, LGBTQ community. Today we have Black History Month, speaking to our staff, talking about the history of what it is and what it means within our region and historically, and our partnerships with Indigenous. And we have hundreds of organizations we partner with in the community. Everything from seniors to children to festivals, and that's part of our backbone and spirit of being a community organization. Mm-hmm. But one of our most recent one that we opened was our Indigenous Interpretive and Retail Center. And for a period of about 2.5 years, we had elders and knowledge keepers roundtables. It's probably the most rewarding thing I've ever been involved in my entire career. And it isn't work, it's more of a passion, but I get paid to do it. It's kind of amazing, right? But you're sitting with elders and knowledge keepers from all over Canada, not just Alberta, up in the north, the northern Alberta, the Arctic. And what stuck with me was one of the elders, and Norma sticks in my head continually, all the great knowledge keepers and elders. She said, we're creating a new supply chain, but we were the original supply chain.
Yeah.
How Indigenous traded, how the history of that undertook was really how Edmonton came to be along the river.
Yes. And
you look at our history. And so working together, we created with their vision and guidance an Indigenous Interpretive and Retail Center that is reflective of the communities we serve.
Yeah.
And it's just the beginning of our strengthening our relationship with Indigenous communities. And within that, Mallory from Indigenous Box is actually curating the retail. But as far as I know, at least in North America, it's the first fully QR code retail store.
Wow.
So we've got the original supply chain digitized in today's world, being fulfilled by a Indigenous entrepreneur with Indigenous goods. It's a very different world, and it's so rewarding to see.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it when you go to the airport, please go there.
It's beautiful.
Open and pull open the drawers. It's meant to be touched.
Yep.
And QR code, and you can buy anything. And what's really special is that Mallory and Cam and the team at Indigenous Box, it's not really about them. They're actually giving you access to all the merchants, so you can go buy directly from them.
Right.
It's about that community spirit, right?
Yeah.
So we can do more together than working individually. So for us, it's really important. It's not the only area, but Indigenous is a huge area for us as an organization.
Yeah.
And really, we have employees from all over the world. We have travelers from all over the world.
Yeah.
So we want to be that airport everyone feels welcome, either to work. We'd love more people to come work with us, but also to travel through and call their own.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys are the hub, and you're a hub of many avenues now, not just a travel hub, but now you're a hub of, like you said, bringing the roots forward and making sure those roots continue on. And I have seen that it's not what is it called? It's not a kiosk. It's like a like the box for the. But it looks amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. When I was last in the airport there for our Christmas special, we were getting an education on just all the little subtle design pieces that the airport even implements that have stories behind them. And you mentioned the river and some of the walkway pieces and stuff like that. The colors and some more of the fabrics and what the representation is. Yeah. That is really cool. And we got to do a little series on just some of those pieces and what they mean and why they're there and what their history was to get put into the airport as a design piece. It's really great.
It is. I mean, that's great having architects from Alberta as well. Stan being one of our partners originally in the terminal design. But I think one of the really interesting parts is the airport is a building, but what makes it work is the people.
Yeah.
And it's not just the people in our team, it's the people in the airport team as a whole and travelers. And so it really is a reflection of the community. And I have to look at even our retail program. Look at companies like Booster Juice, who started in Sherwood Park and are now global. Look at Walkbox, Metalsmith Sterling, which was the first airport to come in, and now they're in almost every airport in Canada and in some in the U.S. And you look at there's just company after company, Cookies by George, others that are reflections of our community, Canadian Brewhouse, right? that's really what the airport can do. And finding the right partners with the same core values are really wanting to give back, not just, generate return, which is important, but giving back to the community holistically is very important. So we're really proud of that, I think. And the faces of the airport are what I'm most proud of. It's the faces of the organization. Otherwise, it's just a building. And it is a really cool building, don't get me wrong. Like the living wall, the architecture, what the architects have done to make it that inviting place is important.
Yeah, you betcha. Myron, you got me excited, man. I'm pretty pumped to see what you guys are going to do here in the next little while, and under your leadership and your stewardship, it's going to be great. And your history says it, and you're full of ideas, and so we're really excited to see what you guys do. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit about yourself and what your vision is. And like I said, we look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the future.
I appreciate it, and thank you for what you do.
You betcha.
I mean, telling Alberta's story, we're so undertold.
Yeah.
And so telling our story, not just to Albertans, but around the world is really important. So thank you.
You betcha. We appreciate that. And we look forward to having you back on to give us some updates a little bit further into your journey.
Great. We look forward to having you out at the airport again as well.
Right on. Awesome.
Excellent.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks.
Bryce.
You bet.